Check, check, check. Hey, everyone. Thank you guys so much for coming. Sorry for the delay here. This is obviously a much different setup than last year, for the better. My name is Jared Hoffa. I'm going to be talking about distribution and AI. I think the first thing that you guys need to know, and it's one number, and it's going to be a very important number, 300,000. That's how many films get accepted in film festivals every year. Of 300,000 films that get into film festivals, not made, that get into film festivals, less than 2% get distribution. They never get a dime. So when you think about the money behind that, it's pretty substantial. I was just at Tribeca, and they actually touted how many people submitted films to Tribeca, almost as a joke. Not that got in, how many? It was 6,000 films were submitted, short films, to Tribeca. You do the math. 6,000 films submitted that don't get in times $30, $40 a pop. They're making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of you guys, not caring what happens after you submit. And so today, I'm going to explain my backstory, what I went through, and ways that you guys can get distribution, ways that you guys can profit. Because we're in a very interesting time in the industry right now. So let's begin. This is my co-founder of PickSquid, and in case I didn't tell you, I'm also the co-founder of PickSquid, and we will get into that later. But my other co-founder is Rajani Mahakajana. She's an award-winning filmmaker. She launched Shortcut 100 about 14 years ago. Was accepted at the Cannes Short Film Festival. She will be here in this room after this when we do our pink carpet event. We're doing a big celebration of films on PickSquid right after this, which you guys are all invited to be part of. You just have to RSVP outside. So that is her backstory. This is mine. I spent about 15 years as a producer and on air at ABC, NBC, shooter, editor, producer. I have a tech background, so the merger of media and tech has always been in my blood. So I've won a few Emmys, and I won one Telly Award many years ago. I was featured on Inc. as part of the Short Business Initiative for the show I'm going to tell you guys about. Yeah, so we're gonna get moving. This whole story is how I went from $0 to something I had built to $2 million and lost it all in the matter of about 3 months. What I learned and how things are the same and also different now, and how I can give you guys a heads up on how to do something better than I did, because don't do what I did. So here's the distribution timeline. I think this is important because I want to cover where distribution and negotiation was in 2017, where it is now, and where I believe it's going to go, and is already kind of showing the light moving forward. So we will be talking about all three. We're going to start, obviously, with 2017, which is really where my story on distribution begins. The strategy back then was these 6 areas. It was build it, team up, research, pitch like hell, close, don't cower, and I'll explain what that is, and finally, the big one, don't be greedy. So let's start with build it. In 2012, I went to South Korea. I needed to take a vacation from ABC. I literally was working 100 hours a week. My boss forced me to take vacation. So I said, I'm really interested in gaming. I've always been, at that time, there was this small little site known as Justin.tv, which would later become Twitch. I was just very fascinated by it. So I went to South Korea to learn about the culture and learn about esports and the community in general. Oh, sorry, let me go back. I don't want you to see that yet. Okay, so from that, I came back to America and I said, look, I think there's a huge opportunity here. I think, gaming is no longer sort of this, hidden kids in the basement. I don't think it's ever been that. But I also don't believe that gaming I also don't believe that gaming is esports. I don't think it's going to work the same way in America. I think it needs to be a bridge between esports and casual gaming. And so from that, I created a show called Gaming Under the Influence, and this is the exact same video that I showed to distributors back in 2017.
me right now. The time expired on the game. We can't even play the game anymore.
All right, guys, first hot box is live. It's who should have the controller behind your back. The online people have spoken. So, Matt, when you go up there, you have the controller behind your back.
Matt playing with his hands behind the back as he has been punished by the hot box. Oh, it's tied up with 30 seconds left to go. My God, this is one hell of a match. Oh, Matt getting on the board.
So that was Gaming Under the Influence. Now you're probably wondering, what the hell did I just watch? So Gaming Under the Influence was a combination of gaming, esports, and focusing on the audience influencing the show. This was at a time when, in LA especially, there was hints that, hey, esports is going to be the new thing. Twitch had just blown up. So what do? So what I did is I came back, I raised a little bit of money, I threw every single dollar I own into building the show. I went bar to bar to start. I would roll a luggage into bars in Wrigley and convince them. Now remember, this is at this time it was 2013 it began. Going to bars in Wrigley and convincing these guys that people want to watch gamers. Okay, so it's a different story now, but back then they thought I was insane. It worked though. And so what it showed is the everyday person loved the show. They wanted to drink, they wanted to game, they wanted to be part of it. In 2015, I eventually raised a little bit of money and built a studio like you can see in the photos here. And that's when I started to have complete control over the show. It was brutal. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Initially, when I came up with GUI, I thought, well, this is a home run. It's going to be millennials playing games, drinking beer. This is going to sell in a year. It took me 7 years to even get considered for distribution, and tens of thousands of dollars every weekend I ever had. It was insane. So what ended up happening is I ended up running out of money and couldn't keep running the show. But the good news is I had pilots. I had episodes. I had proof of what I had done and what is capable. And that's when I went to kind of the next strategy here, which is team up. And so what I did is I brought on some of the people I knew from ABC that could sell things. So I knew her name was Cindy Petrasso. She was the former SVP of ABC. She focused on sales and focused on closing, exactly who I needed, and sponsorship. MK Seipke was SVP of integrations at Harpo. Again, the idea here I thought was get people who are older than I am to convince the older people that gaming is cool. Again, remember, this is 2017. It's a different time. And the last person, which is really the focus of this talk, or a big part of it, was Hayden Meyer. Hayden Meyer was a very successful, well-known agent, sales agent in Hollywood, and he was an APA agent. I've been doing sales agent for 30-plus years. He had a lot of relationships. I think one of his clients was Thomas Middleditch. I was in the rung of his client list. I was the bottom. I was literally it was amazing I was even his client. So, it was a very tall order, and I was thankful that I was able to bring these people on because they believed in GUI. They saw that something was different here, and that was important. This, I think, often gets overlooked, and this is the research strategy. A lot of people, when they pitch, even to trying to get screenings of their films, they kind of do a blanket pitch. Hey, this is my movie, or this is my doc, or this is my short, or this is my experimental. But that's just not how it works. I'm going to be really honest with all of you in this room. No one cares. The people just don't care. They get 1 million pitches a day. All they care about is when lunch is and when they can go on vacation and how their life can be easier. What you need to do is make it easier. And the way that you do that is research these people. Find out what talks they did on distribution or what content they're looking at. So what I started doing, back in this, 2017 cycle, was Google and look for anything that looked like gaming mixed with mainstream with the name of the person I was trying to reach. And it worked. A lot of times I would get a email back or a call back saying, yeah, we're interested, let's talk. Then my sales agent could take over from there. But it was important to really adjust your pitch. So one of the things, when we were kind of running, I'll talk about this later, but when we were running meetings in LA, I would adjust how I spoke about GUI depending on the people that were in the room their age, their demographic, what I thought they may be looking for. You have one shot at this. That's it. And so if you're going to do this, you got to make sure that you win them over immediately. And each person has different needs and desires, and they want their lives to be easy. So that's very important. Pitch like hell, which is what we did. Now, the crazy thing is I got to be part of the streaming boom when streaming was just going absolutely nuts. It was not a question of money. It was, whoever spent the most money was thought to win. It's changed since then. But back then, I was in a meeting with Amazon, and they told me at the time they won't take a show for under $750,000 an episode. I remember I couldn't even find a way to make GUI at $750,000 an episode. At one point, we had a budget where we wrote an office chair for $100,000, and it still wasn't enough to cover the episodes to make it make sense. So it was a really insane time to be in LA and pitching this stuff because everyone was trying to figure out what to do. Streaming was new. People were panicking. TV was getting scared. What do we do? And now these small startups, Hulu at the time, were racing in. They were beating it. And so they thought, hey, if we throw all the money in the world, we're going to win the market. And obviously that's not what happens as you see now, but at the time that's what it was thought. So this is typically how it used to go. And again, I bring this up because it still may go this way, and I want you guys to be aware of it. So when you get that initial meeting, they are the nicest people in the world. Your show, your movie, your doc is the greatest thing they've ever seen. They will definitely be calling you back. They're definitely going to talk about it. That's always the introductory meeting. Then the second meeting, if you get that far, becomes the deep dive meeting. So the deep dive meeting is, they're still nice, but they start casually asking you questions about budget and, what's the vertical on this, and, where do you see the show going? But they do it in a friend way. But really, they're trying to figure out, should we push this to an actual point of acquisition, and that's what's important. Finally, the big meeting. And this is the confrontational meeting where everything you've ever thought of is horrible. Your show is horrible. Your movie is horrible. They hate the name. They don't know if it's going to fit their network. They drill you. You're literally in a room with 13 executives like you would see on a movie, and they just hammer you. And so you had to be prepared. If you don't know this, you think, well, meeting number 1 was really easy, and meeting number 2, they really like it, and you'll get blindsided by meeting number 3. So I'm telling you guys, this is how it worked, and it honestly probably still does. This is really important, and this is the defining moment of getting to that 2 million. Close, don't cower. There was a moment in that third meeting with Sony. So Sony had a platform at the time which they just got rid of. It was called Crackle. Now, Crackle was sort of like a Tubi. It was actually technically, I think, before Tubi, much smaller, though. And so of all the people that we talked to Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, you name it. Sony had done a seminar a couple weeks before we went out there talking about gamers aren't, these 12-year-olds playing Call of Duty. It was like bingo. The slide I showed you about research, I had researched it. I found out who talked about it. It was John Orlando, SVP of Sony. It showed that they were in tune with the show just like I want to do. And so when they saw what we did and when John saw what it was a perfect connection. And so they loved the show. The first meeting went great. They were like, this is incredible. The second meeting, just like I said, we love it, but ask a lot more questions. Where do you see this going? Does it need to be live? Can it be recorded? What type of games? How are you going to get the influencers? The third meeting was brutal, and that was the meeting with the 12 executives, and I was sitting at the end of the table, and they were just drilling us with questions. So it was myself, my business partner, Cindy, was right here, and the sales agent and the other partner. And so to my left, sitting at the end of the table, he was the head of sales at Sony. And his job was entirely focused on selling, high-end PS and PS games, consoles, you name it. That's his whole focus. It was all the electronic side of Sony. And so once we showed it, and he came to the room, and now he had not been in the other meetings. He was there to pretty much squash it. And so he sat here, and he watched the video like you guys did. And he goes, I hate this name. Gaming under the influence. We're Sony. We can't we can't have something called gaming under the influence. Like, it sounds like drinking. And so this is that close, don't cower moment. And so instantly, to my surprise, my business partners who were older than me, who I thought would stand up and go, hey, no, we have experience, they cowered immediately. And they started sliding me Post-it notes, renaming the show right in front of me. Like, we can call it Gaming Fun. What the fuck is Gaming Fun? Like, this is insane. Like, the whole point of the show is the branding. Gaming Under the Influence is a very memorable name. Gaming Fun means nothing to me. And so they're sliding these notes. And this is that do or die moment. I knew I had to be the one to stand up and say something. So I actually had done my research, and I watched shows on Crackle. I don't know if you guys ever watched Crackle, but there was a show called Super Mansion on the show. It was, I think it was made by the creators of Robot Chicken. It was very raunchy, very dirty. And so I turned to him and I said, don't tell me that you have an issue with my name when you have a character on your #1 leading show called Cooch, and she's a fucking cat. And then he went silent, right? And he goes, I'm just a sales guy. He leans back, goes, I'm just a sales guy, I don't know. So we leave the meeting, and my agent's like, you fucked the deal. My business partners are like, this is over. Like, it's over. It wasn't over. We got the offer. And so what happened was, because I stood up, and John Orlando, the guy I told you was in the corner of the room listening, he apparently, my agent told me later, said, if this guy believes that much in it, so do I. And so they called and said, we'll give you 20 episodes for $100,000 a piece. And the crazy thing about all of this was, which, again, greed, they said we could do the show exactly how we showed it. The same video I showed you guys. The crazy thing about that is that show cost me $1,000 a month to make. They're willing to give me $100,000 an episode. The profit margins were through the roof. So they didn't even want to change the show. They said, let's just do it like this. So, of course, this is the photo where we got the call. You can see I'm all smiles because that's more money than I've ever seen in my life. And so then it was time for sending the budget and counteroffers. This is where the greed came into play. Don't be greedy. We lost the deal. And we lost the deal for 2 reasons. 1, my sales agent didn't like the commission. And number 2, my business partners didn't back me up. So instead of saying yes to the deal, which I thought was a no-brainer, the agent said, well, that's, per episode, that's too low for me. I don't get a lot of commission out of that. And so he said, you should bump that up to $200,000 an episode. And then my business partners said, yeah. And then we should ask for $1 million up front. And I said, you guys are all insane. And they said, no, you don't understand, Jared. In TV, this is how it works. And I go, this isn't TV. This is streaming. This is a new thing. This is the deal. That's it. They made it clear. This is the deal. Well, guess what? We countered, I got basically outnumbered for my own show, and we went back with $1 million up front. I think we ended up dropping it to about $150,000 an episode. It didn't matter. The deal was dead. We didn't even get a call back. They didn't even give a counter. They basically they must have looked at us like we were absolutely insane. And so we lost it. And so as you can see, if I do a strategy recap here, 1 through 5, I think we did a pretty good job as a team, but we failed at 6. Don't be greedy. And a lot of that, again, was driven by my sales agent, because he could have just said, guys, you're new out here, just take the deal, run a season, and then go back and counteroffer. He didn't. That's because A, he didn't really care about me, and B, if he was going to do any work, he wanted a lot more money than he thought he was getting out of us. So now let's fast forward many years past that. Now we're going to talk about distribution now, and now what's happening, and there's a very different landscape. So you guys probably know a lot of this information, but I want to highlight it. Things are different now. Fast is hot. When I was pitching in 2017, Tubi was a joke. Tubi's not a joke anymore. Tubi is, I believe, either #1 or close to the largest streaming platform right now. It's bringing the most revenue. It has the most users. It's killing it. So it's important to look at channels very differently. The cheaper, the better. Gone are the days when you can say, well, they're going to love this show because we're going to do it for $1 million an episode, or a movie. You should pick up this movie because it'll be $20 million and it'll look incredible. They don't care. I had a meeting with Warner Brothers about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. And I had a meeting with them in 2017, and they had all the money in the world. A year ago, they told me they can't afford pencils. So they were getting laid off left and right. So it's different now. The world's different. You have to be really financial conscious. And again, things have changed. I think you guys understand that. Find creative platforms. So everyone's always trying to get on the Netflixes, but there's other platforms. There's crypto platforms with money. There's Japanese vending machines that might like your short film. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of distribution you guys aren't thinking of in terms of don't look at the big guys. There's a lot of them. I was just at IndieX in Chicago a week ago and met with a dozen distributors from all walks of life, all the way down to a mom and pop theater in Seattle who will pay you, a small amount of money, but will pay you to have your movie in their theater. That's distribution. That's money. And so you have to think differently. The AI fact-finding is also important. Back in 2017, when I was doing my research, I had to do it the way 2017. Google, kind of sludge through it and figure it out. Today, you can use AI to take your information and go, this is my movie or my show or my pilot. Here's everything. Who should I target and how? Now, I'm going to preface this because I'm sure some of you are thinking, yeah, right, AI lies. It does. It's very important. If you use AI for anything, you have to always tell it, don't just tell me what I want to hear. And I'll tell you a quick example. I made a video game. It's called 486. If any of you guys been to Replay in Lincoln Park, it's a game with a keyboard on it. It's my game. It's an insane game. Anyways, I asked AI, because it's a crazy game, I was like, how popular is my game, or how successful could my game be? And the AI's response was, this is a masterpiece of coding. It is literally, it says the greatest thing. Your ingenuity is bar none. I then said, okay, tell me really what you think of 46. The first line that it came back with is, you got me. And it then said, this is very interesting what you did, but you can't scale this. It's not going to be profitable long term. It's very buggy ridden. And so it's a great thing that you did. I don't see it being very successful financially. So it's very important that you talk to AI correctly, because it will tell you what you want to hear. And so integrations and ads as well, which is crucial. GUI worked especially back then, and it's even more important now that, and I'm sure you guys are seeing this, episodic content. If you're willing to go that route, lean into it. GUI was designed that you could have products in the show. We were sponsored by Slim Jim. We would throw Slim Jims at the gamers. And we were sponsored by Rockstar, and they were shooting cans of Rockstar and chugging them. So we were always integrating that into our show. That doesn't always work for everyone, but for us it did. So if you can see those sort of opportunities, lean into it. I'm not a huge fan of commercials. They drive me crazy like everyone else. But again, I also really like BMWfilms.com, which is an old reference if you guys know what that is. But that was all commercials, and it kind of propelled Guy Ritchie's career. So there's just things to think about. You just have to think differently today. So this is the current way that things go. Basically, there are no in-person meetings. You get stuck in a Zoom meeting with a guy whose title is head of content, but really he's probably a junior executive who sits on Zoom meetings all day. He looks exhausted. You're the 37th person that he saw today on Zoom pitching your movie. He's already exhausted, and then you may or may not get a response. That's it. If you get a response, you have a deal. If you don't, that's it. Forget emailing them back. Thank you. They just don't care. It's very different, because they're just the world is changing, so they just kind of crank through to see what they think they could acquire. So what is distribution moving forward? And I think we're already seeing this. I call it distribution next. This is from now into the near future. And again, it's changing so fast. This is just my thoughts on it. I did a similar class last year, and some of the things I talked about that were going to be coming this year did, but some I was completely wrong, because it is changing so quick. This is the big one. And I want to bring this up because it's not the elephant in the room. It is here. When I went to Tribeca, there was two worlds that I witnessed when I went to Tribeca. One was a traditional, sleepy film festival, kind of doing it the way they've always done it. And you could tell they were proud of that, and that's great. I mean, as they said, 6,000 people submitted short films. It's that's $500,000 in submissions. So, but it was sleepy. I watched some of the films, and they were okay. Most of the people I interacted with at the time, I didn't meet a single distributor, and I only met, out of 10 people, I'd meet one actual filmmaker. A lot of them were interested in film or just sort of crashing the festival. It felt weird. Wonder was different. So next to Tribeca, we got invited to a kind of exclusive 6-movie premiere of this UK company called Wonder, and all they do is AI films. Now, I'm not a huge fan of AI films. I see the application for it, but what was interesting about it is this. Up until the premiere of these movies that I saw, I'm sure you guys know, you've seen, you'll see this clip on Instagram, and you'll see a few shots that look pretty good, that could pass. Most of it doesn't, though. This is the first time I saw 6 movies where the mainstream audience would be absolutely okay with every single shot in these movies. And I had a chance to talk to most of the, quote-unquote filmmakers who made these. Most of them were not filmmakers. They were creative. They were artists. Some were hip-hop artists. Some worked in advertising and marketing. A lot of them weren't filmmakers, though. Every single one of these movies that I saw, and some were upwards of 45 minutes, took them less than $1,000, and they made it in a week and a half. So I'm bringing this up because it's something that you have to be aware of, even if you hate it. There's that, I know Sun Tzu, Art of War, right? Everyone knows that famous line, know thy enemy. But there's a longer part of that where it says, even if thou knows thyself and not thy enemy, you are still in defeat. Because if you don't understand what AI is doing, and even if you're doing well and succeeding, it's going to creep up. You don't want to be blindsided by the tools or the competition or anything. It's here, it's now. So it's very important that you at least understand it and learn it, and even if you never use it, that you can tell a distributor or your director, we're not using AI because of X, Y, Z, versus we're not using AI because I don't like it. It doesn't work today. We're in a year from now, it's going to be an entirely different landscape. So I'm saying, use AI for or against. Like I say, use it, integrate it into your projects if you want as a proof of concept, as a way to show what you would do with a feature film. Or storyboarding, use it that way if you want to. Or like I said, if you don't want to use it, know why. It's so important today, you can't just say, I don't want to use it. It just doesn't, we're just past that point. Transmedia is something that was really big about a year ago, and I think it still is. Netflix is all about transmedia. I had a meeting with them a year ago about GUI because they were launching their games division. So I talked to the head of games at Netflix, and the word that they kept using over there is transmedia. Really what it means is if they make a game, they want a show connected to it. If there's a show that's created, they want a book tied to the game. They basically are trying to stop people from ever leaving Netflix, right? So the idea is that if and a lot of times filmmakers will use, a short story or someone else's book, use that. That's beneficial to Netflix. They like that because if you can say, this movie is based on this book to which we also have the rights, or it's my book, or that interests them, because then they can tie those two things together and say, oh wow, so we're not just getting a movie, we're not just getting a show, we're getting a movie, a show, maybe an opportunity for an interactive, adventure on the Netflix games platform. So it's very big, and they said the word transmedia 32 times in the meeting I was at, so it clearly matters to the stockbrokers and it matters to them. Oh, I got a 5-minute warning. All right. I'm almost done. So, I believe that we do have the solution to the distribution challenge, and it's PixQuid. And I will run through this quickly, but this is built out of the struggles that I had as a filmmaker and someone who, as you know, lost a multi-million-dollar deal. PixQuid is the first platform that is a marketplace that connects you guys directly to distributors. No sales agents in the middle. So if this existed before, I would be using PixQuid, not a sales agent. So what happens is we call it the gate opener solution. You upload your movies on PixQuid. if Netflix is interested, they connect directly with you. We don't own your films. We have no rights to your films. It's non-exclusive. The idea is that we're opening up this sort of closed loop of 2%. So here's an example of someone who's on the platform in the flesh, and you can see on the right, not only can they upload their movies and highlight what they've done, but they can say, hey, I didn't use AI. I shot this in 6K. Here's the festivals I've won. Here's the cast and crew, which then can be extended, and you can add information on cast and crew like you would in IMDb. What we're trying to do is help everyone out in terms of getting distribution and getting that exposure. Nothing kills a deal worse than sending a YouTube link where the first 2 minutes of it is a Ryan Reynolds Mint Mobile commercial. They're not going to watch your movie. They're going to click off. And so at PickSquid, there's no ads. It's designed to help you guys out. So this is what we are working on now and have launched. As you can see from the screenshot, if I'm a distributor, I can click connect and go, hey, I'm interested. I had a chance, like I said, to go to IndieX, and we talked to a ton of distributors. That's all that was there. We showed them PickSquid. We showed them how it worked. We are going to be adding about 5 to 10 distributors as of next week. We've talked to Neon, Netflix, Magnolia. There was one distributor that was there that said, okay, if your platform is so great, I'm looking for a 60-minute horror movie made in the U.S. And so we showed the platform, and he looked. There was one movie that popped up. It's a movie called Karma. Showed him the trailer. He said, I could sell this directly to Tubi tomorrow. So the good news is there is a future for distribution. There's so many different ways to do it. We're just trying to be another vehicle for that. And again, this has come out of someone who's dealt with that. And so now, we're trying to give opportunities where we can so that you aren't stuck in a situation like I was. You can choose. You can choose your future. But the world is changing, and we just have to keep up. We have to evolve, and you got to be creative. If you guys are interested, this is the QR code. If you guys want to hang around, right after this, we are doing the PickSquid second annual award ceremony in this room. So if you have questions about PickSquid, you want to have free food and free drink, this is the spot right after this little presentation here. So I just want to thank all you guys for coming, and hopefully it shed some light on what's out there. But I will, yes, go ahead. I have a question. I was going to say, wait till the after party, but I'll take it. Yeah. So for right now, it's completed films. So it can be a proof of concept, and you can mark it as a proof of concept. It can be anything, but it does have to be some video. So, and what some people have done is they've literally uploaded their short, and their trailer, instead of it being a trailer, they recorded a video as to why you should be interested in it. Very clever marketing. So that's the focus of PickSquid. Again, it's really designed to help you guys out. And I wanted to share that. So thank you guys so much for coming. I hope I was helpful. Feel free to ask me questions after I step up here. Thank you.